Alrighty, nerds, just came out of Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, and the verdict is A-OK. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't as melodramatic as Dragon Ball Z the series was, but of course, I try to remember that it probably has been less melodramatic as Dragon Ball Z has revitalized itself in the last few years when it did that remake. The series remake that cut off I think 50 episodes, making the series shorter. Regardless of that, there's new characters that, because I hadn't seen the last movie, wasn't actually aware of. But that being said, and with some helpful filling in the blanks before the movie from some people I met inside the theater, Michael and Michael, apparently another Michael. Yeah, 3 Michaels there, friends. They told me to let you guys know because obviously someone will mention in the comments that, yeah, having Michael is kind of a weird name because so many people have the name Michael. However, continuing, I really enjoyed the movie. Actually, it's the second movie I've ever paid for while living in LA, which was kind of weird. But honestly, I thought it was going to be, or I shouldn't say I thought, I hoped it was going to be IMAX. So I think the Dragon Ball Z is something that deserves to be on a big screen, or you need to see it on a big screen at least once. I mean something Dragon Ball Z, not necessarily this, but this is done really well. What threw me off probably the most was their use of CG, which in Dragon Ball Z, at least the classic series, I hadn't seen any of as far as I can remember. And it was really weird to have to see that sometimes. And at first I thought it was just because, with scenes of hundreds of characters on screen, then of course you want to, if a lot of characters are nameless enemies, then of course you're going to want to put less time into animating them. And the best way to do that is to digitally animate them. But when they're doing, the really heavy, basically the final fight scenes and it's CG, my mind still has a hard time being on board with that. It's taking a long time for CG to be acceptable in terms of how it looks in the animation world and people looking at it in general. I remember when that show Man Steel came out and everyone was like, man, that looks kind of ugly. It was on the wrong side of the uncanny valley for some people. And it's not that I hated it, but when you mix the digital animation with the classic animation, then sometimes there's this weird disconnect, But all in all, as a fan of Dragon Ball Z, you need to see this movie. I can't see any other thing to say about that. For someone who's never seen it, of course, I can't really say, hey, you should totally see it. If you're not a huge anime fan, if you're definitely not into Dragon Ball Z, excuse me, you probably aren't going to dig it that much, honestly. It's almost like playing Metal Gear Solid 4 or Resident Evil 6 in the way of, hey, look, we have the audience that, knows so much stuff about the series already, so let's pander to them. It's definitely fan service heavy. I'll definitely say that. I mean, there's so much yelling and screaming and oh my goshing in the theater, and there was this weird thing where people were just talking and no one really felt that it was rude because everyone was so into it, and some people didn't know what was on screen. They were watching it with, someone who didn't know anything. Actually, I thought it was adorable. There was this little girl, a row behind me, who was asking questions, and she probably had never seen it. She had people explaining it to her. She says, "Which one's Vegeta?" And her mom is like, "The one with the mean face." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." But, and also, parents taking their little girls to see Dragon Ball Z, which, is definitely seen as something that boys would be interested in way more so than girls. And of course, that's, untrue because society wants us to believe things like that. But what else can I talk about? The music, the score was really good, and it really told the line, or I should say, stay on the fence in terms of something that I always thought was weird when Dragon Ball Z hit America, and that, you know, it was scored with, you know, exclusively rock music. But when you look at the Japanese dub, it ends up being, see you guys. Bye. Yeah, the Michaels just passed me, but they didn't want to be in the video. They were a little too shy, which is interesting thing about what nerddom can do to people. It's like you can be shy, but at the same time, you can be really exuberant when you're in the right environment. But there is this song that's like, I don't know if it's named Freeza, but they like chant Freeza in the music. They chant his name, and it's so awesome, and it breaks the fourth wall a little bit, but in the best way. But it's, you know, the regular score, they didn't, as far as I can tell, reworked any of the music, but they did have a lot of rock music in it, and I think that's just the aesthetic Dragon Ball Z has adopted now. I mean, hard punches and stuff like that. This is my non-spoiler kind of take on the movie, so I'll definitely call this still just out the seat. The next one is going to include so many things that I want to mention, but I don't want to say in this video because obviously that will be spoilers. However, I'd say if you have even the slightest interest in this movie, then you might as well do yourself a favor and try to go see it. It started running yesterday the 4th, and it should be over by the 12th, so you probably won't be able to find any theaters after the 12th for this limited run to see it. So I really hope you do get a chance to, if you want to, and I really hope that you watch the new series. I haven't seen an episode yet. I'm thinking about doing a response video for each episode that I watch. I know I still don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but if anyone wants to mention in the comments if they'd like me to do that, you know, it might make me do it faster. But I guess I will talk to you guys later. I'm gonna record the next video soon, and I hope you guys have a nerdy night.